Hi, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mateo Chavez Lewis, and welcome back to Music Theater Theory. Today we're analyzing one of the classic torch songs of the last 50 years, and a staple in any young mezzo-soprano's audition rep book, On My Own, from the smash hit Les Misérables. As you likely know, Les Misérables is one of the most iconic musicals of all time. Many people associate it with the outstandingly long-running production in London's West End, which ran consistently from 1985 to 2019, so almost 35 years. It was actually composed and written entirely in French by French composer Claude Michel-Schönberg and French lyricists Alain Boubil and Jean-Marc Natel. I hope I pronounced at least one of those names correctly. It was first produced as a concept album completely in French, and then it had its first stage production in French in Paris in 1980. What happened was someone sent a copy of the French language concept album to Cameron Mackintosh. He was the producer behind the Broadway Maven musical Cats, among other things. And they basically said to him, listen bro, you've got to turn this show into an English language version and bring it to Broadway. So he did. The English language version opened first in London, England in 1985 with English translation lyrics by Herbert Kretzmer, and it was a smash success. It transferred to Broadway in 1987, and since then it has basically been synonymous with musical theater across the globe. Today we're looking at On My Own, which is sung by one of the supporting characters in the musical, Eponine. For years she has been in love with a handsome young man named Marius, but he's always seen her as like just a friend. Then one day Marius meets this girl Cosette and is absolutely smitten with her. And Eponine, because she's such a good friend, agrees to help him find out where Cosette lives and deliver his love letters to her. So yeah, she's running around town delivering letters from the man she loves to another woman. Girl needs to learn some self-respect. But no, seriously, it is actually a very profound and meaningful song. And it relates to the other music in the show in a very interesting and meaningful way. I'll show you what I mean. The song starts like this. And now I'm all alone again, nowhere to turn, no one to go to. Without a home, without a friend, without a face to say hello to. And now the night is near, now I can make believe he's here. Already you can hear the music is so incredibly emotional, but it is actually fundamentally quite simple. That's true of almost all the music in Les Mis. It's very emotional but very simple. That's what makes it one of my favorite musicals. Look how simple these chords are. G minor, then B flat major, then C minor, and then here we have D minor, which leads into D major, then back to G minor. These are all just basic triads. No like jazz extensions or complex harmonics. Just basic chords. Major triads and minor triads. That's it. It's chords so basic you could probably learn how to play the song on the ukulele in like 15 minutes. And yet there's so much emotion in them. In order to explain where that emotion comes from, it's time for a mini music theory lesson. No! I know. Don't click away. I will try to make this as painless as possible. What I want to talk to you about is relative and parallel minors. As you may know, if you have some music theory training, every major scale has a relative minor and a parallel minor. The relative minor of a major scale is the minor scale that uses the same notes but starts on a different note. So, for example, the C major scale uses only the white notes on the piano. The relative minor of C major would be the minor scale that uses all the same notes, so in this case all of the white notes on the piano, which happens to be A minor, which starts on A. The parallel minor, on the other hand, is the minor scale that starts on the same note but uses different notes. So for example, the C major scale starts on C. The parallel minor of C major would be the minor scale that also starts on C, so obviously C minor. Now in order to make the C scale minor instead of major, you have to use some of these black notes. Where in the C major scale you would have B natural, E natural, and A natural. So all white notes, like I said. In the C minor scale, you need to use a B flat, E flat, and A flat. Different. So that's the parallel minor, different notes, but same starting pitch. The reason this chord progression contains so much emotion is that it uses both of these different relationships between major and minor. First, it uses the relative relationship, so check out the first two chords are G minor and B flat major. Here's the G minor scale. Do you see how that uses B flat and E flat? And here's the B flat major scale. It also uses B flat and E flat, and then a bunch of white notes. So same collection of notes, just starting on a different pitch, and so they're in like a different order, but they're still the same collection of notes. So therefore, G minor is the relative minor of B flat major. By way of contrast, look at the last two chords in the progression, D minor and D major. They both start on D, obviously, the D minor scale and the D major scale. But the D minor, look, the D minor chord has this F natural, right? But the D major chord has this F sharp. Do you see that? Same starting place, which is D, but different notes, F sharp versus F natural. So that means that D minor is the parallel minor of D major. And do you hear how much of a difference that one note makes? That's the power of the parallel relationship. Sometimes I walk alone at night when everybody else is sleeping. I think of him and that I'm happy with the company I'm keeping. The city goes to bed and I can live inside my head. And now we come out of this intro section into the song proper. And the transition, guess what? It's a parallel relationship. We're in the D minor scale here. The city goes to bed. Right, there's that F natural. And I can live inside my head. My head. That's an F natural. She's singing on my. And then it goes head. And look at the piano. F sharp. So there's the parallel relationship between D minor and D major again. On my own, pretending he's beside me. All alone, I walk with him till morning. Without him, I feel his arms around me, and when I lose my way, I close my eyes and he has found me. Now, this melody, this is very important. We hear this melody a lot throughout the show. Fantine, who dies very tragically early on in Act 1, the mother of Cosette, she sings this melody on her deathbed. Come to me, Cosette, the light is fading. On my own, pretending he's beside me. Same melody. And then our protagonist, Jean Valjean, sings this same melody on his deathbed at the end of Act 2. On this page, I write my last confession. On my own, pretending he's beside me. It's the same. Now, Eponine is not on her deathbed here. She does die in this musical. I mean, pretty much everybody does. It's not called Les Happy, okay? It's called Les Misérables, the miserable people. It's called that for a reason. But Eponine, she doesn't die yet. She dies later in Act 2. She gets shot at the barricade. It's actually a very beautiful scene. She sings a duet with Marius called A Little Fall of Rain, in which she confesses her eternal love to him before dying in his arms. This song, however, she's not dying. But, weirdly enough, she's still singing a melody that two other major characters sing on their deathbed. I have a hypothesis for why that is, so we'll come back to it at the end of this video. For now, let's keep going to the next verse. In the rain, the pavement shines like silver. All the lights are misty in the river. In the darkness, the trees are full of starlight, and all I see is him and me forever and forever. I love the lyrics that Herbert Kretzmer came up with here. They differ greatly actually in meaning from the French lyrics, the original, but I love them. This idea of the rain. I mean, doesn't this piano accompaniment sound like kind of a gentle rainfall? And it ties in with the imagery from A Little Fall of Rain, which we're going to hear in a bit, like I said, when she gets shot and is dying. Also, this line, in the darkness, the trees are full of starlight. The word darkness there ties in to Fantine's lyrics. Because remember I said Fantine sings this melody on her deathbed. When Fantine sings it, she sings, there's a darkness that comes without a warning. So it ties in the darkness. We get the reminder of that emotional moment that we've already seen earlier in Act 1. We get that reminder not just with the melody, but with the lyrics as well. And I know it's only in my mind that I'm talking to myself and not to him. Here we have a really cool chord change. So this is what's called a pivot. We go from D major to B flat major. These two chords aren't really related to each other. I mean, definitely not in the sense of parallel or relative minor relationships like we were talking about before. The way it works, though, is that both chords have a D natural in them. So the soloist holds that D natural, and I know, while the whole accompaniment changes around them. It creates a very kind of dramatic sound because the chord change comes out of nowhere. Having the soloist stay on that note, though, that's what ties it together and makes it work. So it sounds dramatic, but because the soloist is holding that note, it doesn't sound totally disjointed or jarring. And although I know that he is blind. Here we have another pivot. We go from an E flat major chord to an E minor. Ooh, very dramatic sound. But it works because they both have a G natural in them. And that's what the soloist sings. And although all these pivots make this bridge section very, very dramatic, but they serve a logistical function too. While we're changing chords in all these dramatic, unexpected ways, we're secretly moving up keys so that when we come back to the main melody in a moment, we're gonna land in F major, which is 3 keys higher, 3 semitones higher than we were originally. The first time we heard it, we were in D major, right? On my own, D major. But it's about to come back in F major, which is 1, 2, 3 semitones higher. So it's a very drastic change. And it has a big impact on the singer's vocals, too. Because before, she was singing down here in a very kind of talkative range. On my own, pretending he's beside me. But when she comes back to the melody, she's going to be belting out high Cs. So way higher, way more dramatic, way more technically impressive. But the change happens so gradually over the course of this whole bridge section, so you don't really notice it. It all flows together. It's really brilliantly composed that way. And although I know that he is blind, still I say there's a way for us. I love him, but when the night is over, he is gone. A river's just a river. Without him, the world around me changes. The trees are bare and everywhere the streets are full of strangers. I love him, but every day I'm learning. All my life I've only been pretending. Without me, his world will go on turning. The world is full of happiness that I have never known. The melody she sings on this big climactic part, that motif there, I call that the to love another person is to see the face of God motif. Or just the face of God motif. Because in the finale of the entire musical, when Jean Valjean, our protagonist, is dying and he's saying his goodbyes to his adopted daughter Cosette, he sings on this melody, to love another person is to see the face of God. And the ghost of Fantine comes back and sings with him. And guess who else is there? the ghost of Eponine. And this is the last line they all sing together. Then it fades into a reprise of Do You Hear the People Sing, the revolutionary anthem, and then that's the end of the whole musical. So to me it feels like this line, to love another person is to see the face of God, is kind of the moral of the whole musical. You have all these misérables, all these miserable people, faced with death, disease, poverty, revolution. And throughout it all, we still have so many characters, Eponine, Jean Valjean, Fantine, Cosette and Marius, just to name a few, who are motivated only by love in everything that they do. It's a testament to the unbelievable capacity of the human spirit to find love, even in the toughest of circumstances. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that Eponine's big belted high note in On My Own comes on this melody. The world is full of happiness that I have never known. To love another person is to see the face of God. Because in her love for Marius, she is seeing the face of God. Not necessarily in a religious way either, like that can just mean the meaning of life, right? We can debate whether or not she should love this Marius guy. I mean, it's not like he really treats her great or anything. But either way, nobody can deny that love him she does. Fully and truly, expecting nothing in return. And that's what this melody represents. It's also the very last melody that Fantine sings with her last dying breath. Tell Cosette I love her and I'll see her when I wake. Pure love. Fantine's love for her daughter, Valjean's love for his adopted daughter, Eponine's love for Marius, even though it's unrequited. Pure, true love, expecting nothing in return. That's the meaning of life. That's the way to see the face of God. And that's the moral of the story. The melody itself feels so inevitable too. We have these 4 notes that descend to the tonic note, which is basically the home base of the key. It's the note that feels the most grounded, the most like home. And we have these 4 notes that descend to it. So it kind of feels like the melody is coming home. And then this big leap is called a perfect fifth, and it's one of the most like triumphant and resonant intervals in all of music. Listen to this. Like, that's so big and dramatic. So you have these notes that cascade down to like the home bass note, and then this big triumphant leap. Anything set to a melody this beautiful and dramatic must be a pure truth about what it means to be a human being. I love him. I love him. I love him, but only on my own. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more about musical theater with me. I hope you learned something new today. Keep that learning up by using this playlist where you can find all my music theater theory videos. Once again, my name is Mateo Chavez Lewis, and I will see you next Saturday for another episode of Music Theater Theory.